Today in the crypto space, we see the market still going sideways, Bitcoin dipping slightly below that $2,600 mark, and Ethereum still at about $1,660. The rest of the crypto space, the altcoins, are pretty much waiting for Bitcoin to make some critical decisions. Are we coming down to lower levels so that we can buy the dips, or are we expecting a bit of relief to the upside in the immediate short term? In today's video, I want to talk about the general market. I want to talk about Bitcoin as an indicator, but more importantly, I want to talk about one altcoin that we have to touch base on because it's been a while since we talked about it, and that project is called Octaspace. So you know what, let's talk about the news, let's analyze the charts, and let's strategize to capitalize. Welcome to the channel. My name is Mike, and let's get right into it, guys. If you're new to the channel, welcome. On the channel, we talk about cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all the altcoins, looking for opportunities. Whether we go up or down, bearish or bullish, all we want to do is stay one step ahead of the market so that we can capitalize on any of that volatility. And if you appreciate the strategy, subscribe to the channel, click the bell so you don't miss out on any of my future videos, including the live streams at 7:30 Eastern, where we talk about crypto news and price action. All right, guys, if you have any projects you want me to cover here on the channel, feel free to let me know in the comment section below. Better yet, you can hit me up on the socials. The links are in the description. Guys, join that Discord group. It's a great community. Lots of good alpha being talked about on a daily basis, trade setups, fundamentals, and all that good stuff. All right, guys, let's continue here. Let's begin by looking at the general market. What is happening right now with this market? Is it an opportunity, or is the actual opportunity yet to come, meaning coming down to lower levels, being able to DCA at rock bottom prices? And I personally believe that it could be that we get down to a little bit of a lower level. Bitcoin is still kind of holding up very nicely, of course, planking sideways, showing a bit of support. However, guys, there is still nothing yet to indicate that this is not a bearish flag or a bear pennant, where it's a continuation to the downside, where we can see Bitcoin maybe hit as low as at about 20,000. That for me would be an interesting level to see Bitcoin hit. And of course, we'll talk about the Bitcoin chart very, very soon. But generally speaking, if Bitcoin does come down to those levels, I'm expecting that the altcoins follow that lead, and we could see a further correction to the downside, and hopefully, eventually we will see a good accumulation phase at lower levels. Right now we see a lot of good bullish projects, basically dipping and retracing and doing their thing. You can see Altcoin coming down after it was going against the grain, rallying up while the rest of the market was coming down. So for me, that was quite interesting and quite unique to see a project deviate from the trend or from the herd, but it does happen. And then the question is, do you actually want to get into a long position while the market is looking weak like this? So for me, it's about being very patient right now. I think we should be very patient. Don't get basically stuck in or trapped in a trade. Liquidity grabs are there so that you can get trapped into those trades and eventually come down, and then you're going to have to hold or maybe sell on a loss, because right now this market's not looking good. The only thing that I can say is, from a positive perspective, at least we are going sideways right now. At least we are going sideways, and we're starting to build a range. If you feel like we're going to go bullish, the clear ice line, the clear invalidation is definitely starting to be put in. And if you're going to go short, at the end of the day, at least you have that basis, that continuation. Right, we already made a leg down, now we're penning it out, and we continue to the downside. It's very possible here. And just generally speaking, not all coins are going to do this, but right now Kaspa is actually looking pretty strong. In the short term, you can see this touching previous highs, but it is still very range bound. If we get rejected at these tops, the trend is your friend. We could continue coming down. Kaspa did retrace significantly in the last little while, but I do still feel that Kaspa has a little bit of room to be pushed down to a lower level. So I'm going to be paying attention to Kaspa. The graph was doing pretty good before getting a nice bullish setup, and I still feel like a lot of these altcoins are trying to get their bullish setups in play very soon. But in the meantime, again, staying one step ahead, being prepared for this volatility. Look at this, sideways. Even Injective is coming down after a nice momentum burst to the upside. During this bearish moment, we saw, the market come down, Injective was going up. And this was where I kind of said, guys, be careful here, especially on Injective. I made that very clear. Be careful, because it's deviating from the trend of the market, and eventually the market will catch up to it. Market participants will take profit, because, it does look look frothy up there, right? So in this case, Injective's down approximately 4%, a lot more than a lot of the other altcoins, but that's because there's a bit of a dip to catch up for, right? There's a bit of a dip that we need to kind of fall through. So let's anticipate lower levels for a lot of these altcoins, especially ones that have been showing a bit of strength in the last little while. There's some room for dips, like Thorchain. Look at this dip, 10% in 24 hours. Yes, we've been up. Yes, it's been looking great, but it was going against the market trend. So you gotta have to look at, both the trend of the project itself, if there's some good fundamentals, if there's something happening, and overall there's a catalyst that gets the trend going in either direction, bearish or bullish. But then what about the trend of the actual market? If the market looks like it's selling off, don't expect these altcoins to keep up their trend to the upside while the market is dipping down. So Thorchain right now is retracing 10%. I still feel like it could come down lower, but we are testing previous highs. So for me, that's a good indication for a potential level of support. If we do get that support, it's likely that we do get a bounce, but we need to see Bitcoin. We need Bitcoin to give us the signal. Are the bears done? If the bears are done, and if we kind of see, a little bit of a momentum shift in Bitcoin, it's very likely that we can start ranging out on Bitcoin. We can see the Bitcoin dominance, if what's happening there. And of course, guys, join me live at 7:30 Eastern, because we'll get into all of this. Obviously, you can make requests there, and I'll definitely pull up some charts so that we can come up with a plan, strategy, all that good stuff. But we'll look at metrics, Bitcoin dominance, and the total, the market cap, all of that good stuff. Make sure that you join at 7:30 Eastern, where we talk about crypto news and price action. All right, guys, let's continue here. Sideways is this market right now. Okay, so there's no real edge right now. Honestly, the best time is right now to get informed. I've been doing deep dives weekly. I do release a deep dive on many projects, and honestly, it's the best thing that I've ever done, both from a professional level, but also as an investor, right? I'm able now to stand on my own 2 feet and talk about a lot of these projects, especially the ones that I've covered, in a significant amount of detail, and that will allow me to basically, position myself accordingly to my risk tolerance. Like if I do a fundamental deep dive and the project is not looking good for some reason, I can say, well, I do like these aspects and I don't like these aspects. So you know what? I'm gonna, in order to mitigate my risk, I'm gonna allocate this percentage of my portfolio to this project. And that allows you to kind of, again, control your risk. Of course, risk management is key when you're trading and investing and all of that. You want to make sure that your portfolio is very diverse. But when there's no price action and the projects are somewhat new, let's say, or maybe they haven't had their bull run just yet and everything is kind of like preparing for price discovery. A lot of projects did come out during this bear market. And yes, there are projects that are a year to 2 years old, but they haven't had a bull run yet. So in my book, those projects are still new, even though they've been out for a year and a half or 2 years, right? Those are still very new. Why? Because we don't have price action for the bull run. We don't know how this project's going to hold up in a bull run. And for me, that unknown is a bit part of that risk. So fundamentals is key in that case, to be fundamentally bullish. All right, guys. So let's go see. Last time, I want to talk about Octaspace today. Today's video is all about Octaspace. We're going to get there, and I do deep dives every week. On Sundays, I release a deep dive. I did an Octaspace deep dive about 2 weeks ago, and I didn't do a follow-up with regards to price action, so that's why I do want to take a look. Octaspace, really good project. I really am fundamentally bullish on Octaspace. In fact, it made me believe that I should be diversifying my bags into other projects that are in this narrative, which is the distributed computing power narrative. Let's call it that. Right? Renders in that narrative. There's a lot of good projects in that narrative. Akash Network, many others. Okay, so in this case, I feel like I'm too heavy in some of those very stable projects, those more mature projects, and I feel like I need to diversify into a little bit more that maybe have some other value propositions. Like Octaspace value proposition for me is the fact that it embraces decentralization to its maximum. So for me, I like that. I want to be a part of it. So I'm going to be diversifying into Octaspace quite a bit. I've taken a significant amount of profits off my render positions at the top, so I'm happy with that, and I'll be diversifying that into Octaspace. But more about those deep dives. Yesterday, guys, I released a deep dive on Taraxa, a very hot project that's been talked about quite a bit. Guys, I put up a deep amount of effort here on this deep dive, and guys, go check it out if you're interested in Taraxa, into buying the token or the Terra coin, I would highly recommend that you take a look at this video. All right, guys, let's continue. Let's begin our analysis looking at Bitcoin. Bitcoin, at the end of the day, is a leading indicator to this market. If it does dip down, if it does come down to those lower levels, guys, what could we expect for this price action? What could we expect? Because at the end of the day, if it does keep on coming down, we're going to expect lower levels altogether. What does that mean? That means that we could come down to maybe secure the $25,000 mark, maybe come down and actually touch it at previous lows. You can see that we do have a low here and a bit of a volume gap that could act as weakness that allows us to hit that level. But you can see in addition to that, if we kind of look down, the bottom of the volume gap is at 25, but we start to build a level of levels of support right here that could act as, you know, support altogether to get that bounce. So we got to watch out here. This is a very, very important zone. Extremely important. Now, if you exclude previous price action and you just focus on this right here, and I'm going to scooch over my chart, you can see that we have a bit of a weak spot right here that we can definitely fall through. I feel like ultimately, if Bitcoin breaks below the 25, it's very likely that we come back down to about 22,500, and then 22,500 again. How low can we go? I would like to see Bitcoin at about $20,000, gaining some real traction for support. For me, that would be epic, given that that's the actual breakout point out of this descending wedge. This was the level where a lot of people decided to go long right here. Why? A beautiful back test, nice confirmation of the breakout, and this is where a lot of people entered their long positions. Now, wouldn't it be ideal for the market to induce max pain and come back to that level and see how many people have weekends? And it's very likely it happens. The market tends to want to do that. So I'm keeping some capital reserved, you know, for Bitcoin purchases at this level, and obviously altcoin purchases, because if Bitcoin comes down to this level, and even if altcoins go sideways during that moment, we know that that's a sign of strength, number one. But number two, the likelihood of altcoins coming down even further is very low, given the fact that Bitcoin came down to this level. I honestly feel like the low is already in. Like, we could make another low. No, it's only a game of probability. I do not have a crystal ball to tell you exactly what is going to be happening here, but I do feel like ultimately this zone right here is a very happy zone to expect Bitcoin to backtest and get some support here at the point of control at about 20,000, even at as low as 19,000. So I'm going to keep my eye out. Obviously, I'll be scaling into a lot of these altcoins right now on the daily. We are oversold. So what does that mean for Bitcoin? It's the time to actually consider that we could be getting a bounce. Let's wait for some bullish divergence. Let's wait for some indications on this horizontal, because it does look like we could get a little bit of relief to the upside. And what I do like about getting relief right here is that we could be in some sort of distribution phase where this sideways price action may take a little bit more time. We may bounce within this range for the next little while type of thing, and then eventually roll over and come down to these lower levels, right? But in the meantime, when Bitcoin goes sideways here, I know I've been saying this for a while, I am hoping that altcoins take that opportunity to rally up and catch up to Bitcoin, right? If we see that, we'll have that altcoin season. We'll see altcoins rally up, do a lot of good numbers, and of course our portfolios will swell up. And at the end of the day, it is very in tune with the reality is if Bitcoin comes down, altcoins will also have that room to come down to those lower levels and give us a second opportunity to scale in, right? And take profits, of course. All right, guys, so that's my take on Bitcoin. You know, obviously, I'm a swing trader. I don't get into like the 15-minute or the 5-minute. I like looking at the 4-hour and the daily, getting into, you know, double-digit gains before I even think about taking profits. A bit of leverage here and there for me is all good. But at the end of the day, as a swing trader, I'm looking for big moves, and I'm waiting for Bitcoin to actually show me the way for a big move. I feel like a long position to the upside is due very soon. We're going to wait for that 4-hour to actually give us that signal before we can get in there. Right now, oversold, but I feel like we're going to come down a little bit more to create some divergences. All right, let's get into Octaspace, guys. The project for today, guys. If you appreciated what I'm doing here in this channel, do the channel a huge favor and slap that like button. It does really help out with the algorithm. It does help out get this channel going and the video out there. All right, so we can see that Octaspace right now is, you know, in the short-term consolidation, of course, you know, it is a bit of a relief to the upside. And this retracement right now is, you know, it's not deep. It is a nice W formation. No signs of bullish divergence. So it looks like it's just a very healthy retracement. Let's begin looking at the daily for a second here to see what is happening. The daily at the end of the day is coming down. You can see that the overall momentum is slowly retracing to oversold conditions. The only good thing right now that we have going for us in this chart, in the Octaspace chart, is the fact that we've hit the 50% mark on the RSI, right? The 50% mark on the other side leads me to believe that we have, a bit of chop zone play to work with, meaning that we could see the price chop around here for the next little while. The 50% mark on the daily, on the 4-hour, any time frame is usually where you see chop zone, sideways price action. Now you have a question to ask yourself. Are you interested in getting into sideways price action? Or are you going to wait for a clear trend of or a momentum to one side, either bullish or bearish, right? In this case, trading the range is not my interest. I'd rather get into lower time frames and pick a side, right? So right now, I think it's going to get in the chop zone for a little while. We might consolidate here for a bit. We can see a lot of supply and demand here, a lot of potential support or resistance for future price action. So we got to keep an eye on here. But we also see a bunch of weakness above. Huge volume gap right here, obviously, and then we begin a bit of supply and demand, but still a bit of resistance based on this little chop action that we see here. We introduced a bit of volume that could act as resistance, right? So that's something to consider. We do have extension levels right up here. We have the 1.27 at about $1, give or take, or 95 cents, and then the 1.618 at about $1.02, something like that. Okay, so this zone right here, if we do get another leg up, of course we got to be prepared, because it could happen, get a third drive of bearish divergence, and then we got to be prepared to take a bit more profit. But given the fact that we are down here, I'm leaning towards the fact that we could be coming down to lower levels. Of course, we came from overbought. It's very likely and very ideal for us to see this price action get oversold, right? And oversold potentially means that we could touch the top of this volume gap at about 38 cents. If it does come down to there, and guys, we already wicked down there really quickly, and we got an algorithmic buy orders, tons of them, where we bought up the whole price action. Look at this one, quick wick down, entered, and I had this box in here, even in this wick, right, scenario. A few blind buy orders got triggered for myself, but I wanted to accumulate a little bit more. We didn't get it here. We got a higher low, which, guys, is a very strong thing. But when you see the momentum kind of still hanging out here, for me, this looks like just a bit of relief to the upside. Let's go back into the 4-hour and you can see what I mean. This nice consolidation looks just like a retracement. And the reality is, if we break above this gap, which is at about 57 cents and change, guys, it could be possible that we start snapping to higher levels and hitting maybe about 65 cents. And then ultimately, I would be ready to protect my capital at about 80 cents. And you know what I mean, at $1, $1.20, $1.02, things like that, up here at the extension levels. I would be prepared to take profits, especially if we see the momentum still coming down on the daily. Why? Because creating a higher high here would be class A bearish divergence on the daily. And if we even create a double top, it would be class B bearish divergence on the daily. So for me, that's not interesting. I would rather take profits and protect myself, especially after a third drive of bearish divergence. Now, on the 4-hour, on the other hand, we can see that we got oversold. And at the end of the day, we might want to look for a full reset to overbought territory, right? So again, we're in the chop zone on the 4-hour, and it's very indicative of this price action. Wait for the chop zone to actually finish. If we do happen to see the price action come down based on like a 1-hour or the 15-minute come down to lower levels, it may not be a bad idea to go long here. It may not be, but remember, you're taking a bit of chance because you're going against the daily trend. But nonetheless, it could be a viable trade to the upside, but you got to be quick to take profits. The profit-taking zone and where you need to protect your capital is the breakout zone at about 57 cents, right? At 57 cents, you want to be at break even. You want to put your stop loss there. So just in case it does come back down and get into this consolidation, at least you're not in a negative scenario. Because if you're going long and we continue consolidating here, it's very likely that we see the momentum fully reset to overbought conditions while the price action still continues to go sideways. Guys, that happens a lot. You know, that's a sign of bullishness. And we know Octaspace has been getting a lot of momentum, a lot of interest in the space, and it's very likely that the overall market participants won't let this price drop further. So if that's the case, you got to be quick to put yourself at break even at minimum so that you can walk away with a trade that is not a loss. And that's the ideal. Protecting your gains, protecting your capital is the ideal scenario. Now, the actual ideal scenario in considering the daily would to see this momentum actually fully reset to overbought conditions on the 4-hour and start building a short position, as you would probably get a confirmation high, a lower high. A lower high here, based on what we're seeing here, would be an epic scenario to actually go short and see if we actually can get enough bearish momentum to break this neckline right at the point of control at about 45 cents. Guys, we can see double bottom scenario. Okay, and we can see a lot of supply and demand, and the actual level to actually break would be this zone right here. If we break below 38 cents, we're snapping down, but you can see a lot of the supply and demand at the point control is the actual level to watch out for, because we can make a slow grind to the downside and actually break to those lower levels. So a nice short from a lower high would be epic. Right, so we got to wait for those confirmations. Let's wait for the 4-hour to get fully reset in overbought conditions. Let's wait for the MACD to show us, you know, an EMA cross to the downside after this is finished. EMAs are still facing up with green histogram bars to the upside, so the momentum to the upside is still very possible here, guys. So we're still in a very bullish stance on the short term. So we just got to wait to see. I feel like, you know, one leg up, bit of a consolidation, and then another leg up, and then we'll start looking for shorts once again. All right, guys, thank you for stopping by. If I've offered you any value in this video, do the channel a huge favor. Slap the like button. It does really help out with this algorithm. And of course, guys, join that Discord. It's a great place, great community, and all that good stuff is definitely being posted on the Discord. Lots of good alpha, lots of good trade setups and all that. Join me live at 7:30 Eastern. Take care, guys. Have a good one. And don't forget, buy the dip.